Last week, I posted up to the Battletech archive here some tactica on lance building. This idea that we're going to take 4 mechs and essentially the framework, look at 3 possibilities with these 4 mechs. The first is, how are they going to work together to accomplish the mission, whatever that mission is going to be, recon, seek and destroy. Also, how are these 4 mechs going to work together to prevent your opposing mech command from achieving that mission? And usually most of the time, it's blowing up other mechs and machines and tanks. And then the third piece of this is the idea that synergy that you have with these 4 machines, there's just going to be certain things, certain weaknesses, certain things that they're not able to do. How can you prevent your opponent, in theory, easier said than done, from exploiting those weaknesses and essentially nullifying the first and second? So we put up some ideas, looked at a couple of things, and I offered a lance that I recently played, one that I like to play. It fits my player personality, but using this idea as a template. Now we've got that framework. I wanted to follow up kind of like a part 2 on this exercise because it's good for the new mech warriors and mech commanders coming to Battletech. This idea of how would you beat that lance? Like, I hear what you're saying, Fritz, on 1 and 2, but going up against this lance, how would you beat it? What would we be looking to exploit? Okay, this is the lance taking a Jenner, a hunchback, a grasshopper, and a victor. So essentially light, medium, heavy, and assault. And of course, lots of different ways to build the lance. And essentially, this lance is going to try and force you with the victor and the hunchback with those autocannon 20s. The maneuverability and speed of the victor, pushing you forward, locking you in, hunchback trying to get rear or side, blasting you, a lot of physical attacks because we're going to get to point blank range. The hopper, the grasshopper, providing support and pushing off other skirmishers, and basically the Jenner switching from a recon role to kind of an outflank role and looking to get rear armor, looking to create problems, and essentially leverage those lasers and short-range missiles as best as possible. So playing it very, very aggressively. Now, naturally, it's a little more nuanced than that. You can go back and listen to the vlog from last week for more in-depth tactica. But this is enough framework to begin asking the questions. How would we utilize this? How would you fight against this? What is the exploit? So, not good or bad, but this list is pretty straightforward. You know what's going to be happening. You've got 2 autocannon 20s. You've got medium and assault battle value piled into those 2 machines. So they're going to be looking to get as close as possible, point blank range, 1 hex away, blasting away, and then punching and leveraging physical attacks. At the same time, the grasshopper is going to be zapping with all those lasers and looking to kind of drive off any speed blocks or road bumps that someone might throw up. Meaning, if this victor and this hunchback are advancing, and I send out some tanks or something to kind of slow them down to try and take them apart at range, the grasshopper can come in. And of course, dealing with the Jenner. So the first thing that I'm looking to do, I need to have maneuverability. I need to stay dispersed a little bit more than possibly normal. Normally a lance, 4 mechs, they want to stay a few hexes away from each other. So if you engage one of my machines, then the other members of the lance can add on some firepower. I want to be a little bit further apart. I want to try and stay out of autocannon 20 range as best I can and have maneuverability. Likewise, that doesn't mean I'm going to be fully like 5-10 hexes apart. I want to try and dominate the center of the hex map, meaning naturally modified by terrain a little bit. If I can dominate the center of the hex map, then I can radiate out 360 degrees, 8 directions, moving. I can pull away. I have somewhere to go, somewhere to backpedal, somewhere to run, somewhere to move against these 2 machines coming in. If I kind of castle up or I stay on one side of the hex map, I might be cornered very, very quickly. On a side note, this is why autocannon 20s are really, really deadly in city fights, city tech, where you've got a number of buildings and alleys, roads and streets. First of all, you can kind of run and gun and remain hidden in city fight. So on the way in with your autocannon 20s, you're not going to eat as many shots as kind of an open hex map. You are vulnerable to indirect fire. You always are, but indirect fire is even more important, having that ability with spotters and stuff like that in city fight, city tech. But what will happen is with these autocannon 20s, demolisher tanks, whatever you're going to mount that on, if you get caught with them, often what happens really fast in city fight, city tech, there's nowhere to really run effectively. Like, yes, if you've got jump jets, you can jump over stuff, but it's easy to run out of room really, really fast. And then once you're locked in with an autocannon 20, if there's 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 blasting you, it's just going to scrap you. Sidebar, you can get them on mechs. You can get them on demolisher tanks. You can get them on Saladin hover tanks. You can get them on field guns. There are lots of ways to flood the table with autocannon 20s. Okay, so back to this. If I'm in the center-ish of the hex map or the table, I can move in different ways. I don't want to be on the flank. I don't want to castle up. I need to be staying mobile. At a certain point, getting into range to engage this lance coming at me, I at least want to try and stay at long range with the autocannon. I want to throw up those modifiers. I don't want to get caught. The target I'm going to try and focus on, and this is not the best decision. It's like the best worst decision. I would target the I would target the Jenner. Not as in I'm going to chase it and run it around, because it's eventually going to just take me in places I don't want to go. If I have a light mech, I don't know if I'm going to chase after the grasshopper with that. The Jenner with that, simply because if that Jenner turns on my light, like if I've got, an example would be I regularly play a Locust, the SRM2 variant. Drop the machine guns, take 2 SRM2 packs. It's got some good punch. I'll chase after that Jenner, but I have to be careful. If the Jenner turns on me, now I've got a 4-pack coming at me and a brace of 2 medium lasers. I could also flip those handles, those paddles back the Jenner and shoot me as it's running. So I don't necessarily want to chase it down. I want to hit it with autocannons and long-range missile fire. Yes, I'm going to need higher than average dice because it's going to be at range. It's going to be running. But if I can, it's still a light mech. It's still a light mech. If I can tag it with a few things and damage it, take it out, or at the very least, knock off enough armor bubbles that when it does decide to close, when we've closed battle, it does decide to close, or maybe I can't stop it from closing with me and adding the weight of its dice to the rest of the lance, then at least the return fire, I'll be able to take it out. I want to eliminate that Jenner. What this means is initiative. Right now, again, we're just looking at 4 machines versus 4 machines. Very, very quickly, I want to be able to gain initiative and have an additional piece to move last. And the easiest way to do that, what can I take out first? It's a little bit hard to take out that Jenner, but it has the least amount of armor. If I can do that, win or lose initiative, it gives me a little bit more of gives me a little bit more room to be like, okay, they're going to move the autocannon here. They're going to do this. I can move out of the way. So gaining initiative, keeping initiative, having that +1 with movement, I'm going to look to dominate on that. Now, the Grasshopper itself, this is a tough decision because Grasshopper's got some good armor. It's got some good maneuverability. You know, it's a heavy. And to try and focus fire and take that thing out, that's the worst thing I can do is like fire a little bit on the Hunchback, fire a little bit on the Victor, fire a little bit on the Grasshopper. I'm doing nothing. I need to focus fire this lance. I need to drop that Jenner as soon as I can. I then need to be running and gunning and dancing, not get locked in with the autocannons. I can't eliminate not getting shot at, but I could at least stay at range. So they're at long range. They've got that modifier. They're going to have to run. I'm going to be running, get a couple of hexes. We're going to be doing a lot of torso twisting and positioning to fire back. I don't want to focus on the Grasshopper. It is deadly. It's got all those lasers. In some ways, by running and gunning and trying to stay at distance, and again, dominating the center so I have somewhere to move, not getting cornered, I can eliminate those autocannon 20s, but I can't eliminate all the zappies on the grasshopper. But for now, I'm just going to try and endure it. Then I'm going to focus on dropping that first autocannon 20. I'm going to focus on trying to drop that hunchback. Take that out. Then I'm going to go to town on the grasshopper. I'll save the Victor for last, simply because it has the most armor, and it primarily is, it's got good maneuverability, it's got good speed for an assault, it's got the jump, but if I can stay at range, I'll dance long enough. Now, targets of opportunity, things of opportunity. On a sidebar, I was pushing up some Wargaming Tactics 101. A couple of just kind of universal wargaming laws and rules to keep on the lookout for. And this is system agnostic, so you can apply it everywhere. I want to framework just a little bit because this is important. There's this idea of you build a list, a lance, an armada, a battle group, whatever that's going to be, right? Sometimes it's a buy-in. Sometimes with historical wargaming, it's a set list based on the time period. But here's like your stuff. Here's your army. And I want to always hold, ideally something fast-ish, in reserve. There's a little bit of my battle force, army, armada, whatever that's going to be, that I don't want to commit. I can't have it be so much because then I'll be overwhelmed. But essentially, I'm holding a little stuff back, waiting for my opponent to make a mistake. And of course, I have to be able to see that mistake. Or if there's an opportunity to suddenly take advantage of. What I'm going to be looking for the entire time is the location of that Victor. Hunchy's a little bit more protected than the Victor because that autocannon 20 is in the side. It is still a medium mech, but medium mech's got a decent amount of armor. The Victor, just by its nature, it's not like it's a Cyclops. It's not like it's an Atlas where you've got the autocannon in the torso with all that assault armor. If I can get facing, I'm going to try and really look for facing, keep that going, where if I shoot on the table, straight side, left side, right side, if I can engage it mostly on the right side, drop that autocannon, blow that autocannon out. That's one of the weaknesses of the Victor. This is why you want to kind of look through the tech manuals and look for these weaknesses. The weakest point on a mech, of course, it's all relative, right? Light, medium, heavy, and assault. The arms. The arms drop off quicker more than anything else, barring like a lucky headshot or some really combination shots where you fire like 5 or 6 things and just for whatever, they all land primarily in one area through the luck of the dice. So this is why sidebar zombie mechs that have their primary weapons in their torsos, they're really hard to put down. An awesome mech, yes, it's an assault mech, lots of armor, 3 PPCs. It does take a lot to drop that arm, but even when you drop the arm, now you've got PPCs left torso, right torso, you really got to put that machine down. You really have to blow it up. So the Victor, one of the flaws in it, I shouldn't say flaw, one of the points to be mindful of is if I can focus mainly on that side through positioning and torso twisting and fire, that doesn't mean I'm always going to automatically hit there, but it will increase. It will increase my odds based on the chart. Once I drop that autocannon 20 on the Victor, then I go to town on the grasshopper. Now, this is all theory, Hammer, right? You're going to be doing your best if you're playing this lance or whatever lance you're playing. I'm going to doing my best, plus the mission, plus the luck of the dice. So within that framework, one of the things I was illustrating was going in with a plan and forcing your opponent to adapt to that plan as best as you can. That's the second layer within this. So that's how I would take down that lance. Turning it over to my fellow mech commanders, mech warriors, how would you drop a lance? Meaning Jenner, Hunchback, Grasshopper, Victor. How would you target that? How would you begin to deconstruct that lance? Or what lance would be a good hard counter to that lance to take it out?